Hello and welcome to another episode of Empowering Equality, the Inclusive Workplace and Supply Council of Canada, or IWSCC's podcast on all things supplier diversity. I'm your host, Alex Dirksen, and I'm so excited to have a conversation with today's guest because I get to interview them, get to know them a little better, and meet them for the very first time. Margaux Wosk. Margaux, thanks so much for joining me on the show today.
Thank you for having me.
I'm really excited to get to know you and to get to know your business as a new supplier to the IWSCC. IWSCC, a few too many C's in there. Um, so your business, Retrophiliac. Tell me all about it. Tell me a little bit about what Retrophiliac does.
Yeah, so Retrophiliac originally started out as a kind of vintage clothing venture that turned into a visual arts thing, and then it's now transformed itself into lots of communication items. So I design enamel pins, patches, stickers, keychains, and a lot of other things as well. And it primarily has a focus on communicating disabilities, communicating access needs,
Okay.
pronouns, pride flags, and they are mostly 1.5 inches in length so that they can be worn together to create a unique message, whether it's somebody's pronouns and their flags, or um, something like they can pair "Please be patient with me" with an autistic pin, or many of the other offerings I have. I have over 250 items, I think, right now that I have.
Oh,
Uh,
very cool. So when you say communication items, they're like little fashion accessories, but also they say a little something about you and kind of help communicate your identity with others. It sounds like.
exactly. Yeah. So it's like a non speaking way that if somebody may not have the mouth words, they can gesture to their pin. The pins are a small enough size that they fit well on lapels. And it kind of came from seeing that the other options out there were not the right fit for what I was looking for. I wanted something that looked a little bit more, I guess, professional and less colorful, things that were more neutral in nature so that they could be worn at conventions, professional engagements, really anywhere.
That makes sense. I know we've experienced a little bit of that here as well at the IWSCC. Sometimes, especially when it comes to inclusion and accessibility and communicating identity, it's not that there's anything wrong with like having lots of options, but sometimes if you're looking for sort of that more professional side, like you said, a lot of the options can be very colorful and very bright, or maybe not quite the same sort of item you want to wear with a business suit or while you're networking or introducing yourself to potential clients. So, speaking of clients, can you tell me a little bit about uh, who Retrophiliac serves sort of the most often and how you grow your business?
So I would say that I serve mostly women from the ages of like 25 to 45, mostly Americans.
Okay.
But really, my business is generally worldwide, but mostly English speaking countries. I grow my business by utilizing social media. So I have almost 34,000 followers on TikTok right now,
Holy.
nearly 20,000 on Facebook, and nearly 20,000 on Instagram, or over 20,000 on Instagram. And so I utilize reels or short format videos. And some of them have gone very viral. So I find that that's kind of one of the ways that I get myself out there. But I also do wholesale. I work with a lot of local brick and mortar retailers, and I also do markets primarily in summer and the holiday time in winter.
Very cool. Very multi-talented as a lot of entrepreneurs are. Can you maybe share just so that we can get to know Retrophiliac a little bit better? Can you share maybe like a recent project you had or one that you're super proud of that you like to share when you talk about your business?
Yeah, so I recently just finished my second iteration of a how to run your own creative small business cohort with an organization called Curico, which is based here in Vancouver. And they offer experiences to people free of charge. And I was hired on as a peer coach. So I was able to
Oh, you
go.
were on the coaching side.
Yeah, so I do coaching. I'm gonna
Cool.
be doing one-on-one coaching as well. So that's something I like to speak to. But another facet of what I do is I'm on the board of a nonprofit called BC People First, and we are pretty much entirely disability disabled run. And so we just had our accessibility rally last Saturday. And I was able to speak on that because I love public speaking, and I got on like three different news networks. And yeah, so part of my activism and advocacy work really ties in with the whole idea of disabled people working for themselves, looking for additional resources, hopefully being able to fight hard enough that a grant becomes available so that people have more options to be able to work for themselves if that's what they want and be able to develop their own business. So it kind of is multifaceted that my business and my activism work, they're all kind of tied into each other with the main focus being like accessibility.
Yeah, that's very cool. Activist, public speaker, designer. You've got so many talents under your belt. So with so many experiences and so many directions to head in, you mentioned your business has gone through a couple transformations itself. What led you to go into business? What led you to become an entrepreneur?
Yeah, it's something I've always liked. I started selling vintage clothing at the age of 12.
Cool.
So I just have always enjoyed business. I mean, even as a child, my sister and I would pretend to run our own business with a fake little like cash register and all that kind of stuff. So I always just found it fun. I always liked, shopping for supplies, and I still enjoy that. And little, labelers and gadgets and stuff like that. And it's just always been something I've enjoyed, and it really just runs through my family. Like, we have a very strong heritage, strong legacy here in Vancouver. My grandfather opened up a place called Save on Meats, which is very well known. He was the original owner and operator of that. And I have other more distant family members that were all very well known in business. So I don't know how much of it is instinct and how much of it is just, me loving what I do, but it's just the very best thing for me. And getting fired from my last job and just not doing well in the retail sector led me to believe that for myself, I was meant to do something more and something different. And because so many doors were closed in my face, I've been able to open up so many doors for myself and for others. And I just want to kind of be the example of what it looks like to be self-employed and openly like disabled because I'm autistic and other things. And I just really feel like this is what I'm meant to do. But on paper, my qualifications are really just entry level. I would have never been accepted into business school because I have a learning disability, mostly with math. I dropped out in 11th grade. I got my GED. Nothing on paper would say I would be ready for post secondary. So I've taught myself everything that I know when it comes to business. And I got a lot of the knowledge and insight from working retail. I mean, that teaches you customer service, that teaches you all kinds of different things that were really invaluable to me on my entrepreneurship journey.
Yeah, yeah, no, that's really incredible. You're the definition of self-made, which is just so cool. We find that's the story with so many entrepreneurs, and of course, a lot of the entrepreneurs that we work with, disabled business owners and veteran business owners as well, have a really similar experience where there are doors closing in front of them, but the perseverance, the experience, and the innovation that folks can pull from their own lives leads them down their own path of exploration and to making great new businesses like Retrophiliac. So that's so cool. And kind of on the subject of like the businesses we work with, I guess I'm using kind of the royal we, the IWSCC. We certify businesses who are owned by persons with disabilities and by veterans. As a relatively new supplier to the IWSCC community, I think you'll have a really unique perspective on this question. What does it mean to you exactly to be certified with an organization like IWSCC?
To be certified is amazing. Like the fact that I will have new opportunities to network, opportunities to pitch my business to clients that I wouldn't normally have access to. It's awesome. And just to also be able to say, like, I am IWSCC certified, like, I feel it gives my business an edge, and it gives my business the opportunity to say, like, I have gone through this to make sure that my business meets, rigorous standards, and that, I'm just part of a network. I'm part of something that I know is going to help my business in the long run. So I'm looking forward to accessing all of those things, and I've had a few meetings so far, like in terms of figuring out how to pitch my business. I got some great feedback from your team, and so I just hope to actually start to put that in motion when I have a little bit more time.
Right on. No, I mean, hey, that is a powerful endorsement. And I'm very confident that we will, but I hope that we hold up our end of that endorsement. We'll continue working hard to support businesses like yours and to help you get that edge that you mentioned. So fantastic to hear. I'm almost a little flustered because that was so many nice things to say. Um, I have kind of like a bit of a lightning round where I like to get to know people like a little more personally. I know we've talked a lot about business, but before we move on to that, is there anything that is new and exciting with Retrophiliac? Is there a best way to check Retrophiliac out or anything like that? Or just anything else you'd like to say to our listeners?
I have 12 new pins being made right now, so I'm really
Cool.
excited. They'll mostly act as companion pins to other pins that I have. So, for instance, let's say somebody uses the I use ASL pin. I'll have a pin that will say accommodations required. That can be worn with that pin or many of the other ones. So I'm really excited for those. Um, I've just had a lot of like wholesale orders go out lately, so that's been exciting. What else? To find me, you can either go to my website shopretrophiliac.com or retrophiliac.etsy.com. And I'm also on Fair under Retrophiliac for wholesale orders.
Excellent, right on. And you'll listeners and viewers on YouTube, you'll find those links in the description. So be sure to check those out. And yeah, I know we've talked a lot about business, but we know that entrepreneurs are busy people, but they're people too. So I have some kind of quick questions that I'd love to end our conversation with, off to get to know the folks a little better. Sometimes I feel a little bit like they're more for me than our audience, but I bet they'll like them too. So to start, a kind of a straightforward one, but when you're not working hard supporting your business, how does Margaux Wosk like to spend their free time?
So I spend most of my time on my business, let's be honest. It's really like time thing, but I wouldn't rather be doing anything else. I do volunteer with my nonprofit, BC People First. I am the Lower Mainland West Regional Director, so I spend time volunteering. I like to spend time with my cat or with my family. I like to cook large vegetarian meals. I've started going to the gym and also started going to counseling. So I think making sure that you take care of your mind and your body is a really important, especially as a small business owner. I think we get very caught up in focusing on our business all the time. So it's nice to have to kind of delegate specific chunks of time to not doing that. So yeah, it's a lot of just helping myself, helping others, and just giving back in the ways that I know how.
The busy life of an entrepreneur, the busy life of a business owner.
Mhm.
Um, and in that busy life, sometimes we don't always have time to start our day with the most important meal of the day. But I'd love to ask folks, because in another life, I was a humble fry cook making all day breakfast for folks. And it was a good life, but we all go through transformations ourselves. So when you start the day, or when you get to start the day, maybe your favorite way to, what is your favorite breakfast food?
Waffles, if I could have them more often. I'm kind of watching what I eat right now, but I made pancakes this morning and I just used less of the Bisquick mix and more eggs so that it was more protein packed. So I still
Nice.
kind of got my breakfast food, but modified it a little bit.
Hey, the protein pancake can be like a great way to start your day. It's a little energy boost. You got your carbs, you got your protein, you got a little bit of sugar to kind of give you some extra spice in the morning. So that's excellent. I know waffles always feel like sort of this breakfast food that so many people love, but they're just a little bit more work, or because you need that waffle iron, you need that extra piece of equipment at home. We don't always get to have them. So I feel like a lot of the time, if I'm out at a diner or I'm getting myself some breakfast, I'm always eyeing the waffles on the menu, thinking maybe today will be the day.
Waffles are so good.
Excellent. Right on. And for our listeners, for me, for maybe some hopeful business owners out there, or for the folks who want to connect with those business owners, what's a good piece of advice?
I would say get yourself out there and make content on social media. It can even be so mundane where you're just packing an order or packing an order and then doing a voiceover about something business related, but I really think that that has helped me grow and show people like I'm not just a business, there's a literal person here. And because I talk about, autism and neurodiversity mixed in with my business, I think it's okay to be a human within your business.
Absolutely. And hey, I think everybody loves a little bit of that behind the scenes look. Everyone wants to kind of peer behind the curtain and see what's going on back there. So, very cool. Great idea. Great suggestion for everybody at home. And hey, maybe for me too, you'll see some IWSCC behind the scenes someday.
Yes.
So, thank you so much for joining me today, Margot. It's been an incredible opportunity to get to know you a little better.
Thank you so much for having me.
Excellent. And thank you to our audience so much for joining us today. Empowering Equality is hosted by the Inclusive Workplace and Supply Council of Canada, or IWSCC. We'll watch the number of C's on that one. Connecting disabled owned and veteran owned businesses with opportunities across Canada. A big thank you to Pod Supply for producing this episode, and to our sponsors RBC and Bell. As our 2024 ASL leader, RBC helps us provide American Sign Language for our show and for all of our events, which, if you're checking the show out on YouTube, you will see that there. And they get that done with additional support from champions like Bell. And then interpretation is supplied by Maple Communications Canada. If you want to learn more about the IWSCC, you can find us at www.iwscc.ca. If you want to learn more about Retrophiliac, you'll find those links again down in the description, or in the episode description if you're checking us out on your favorite audio platform. And if you enjoyed this conversation as much as I did, be sure to like, subscribe, favorite, follow the show, follow IWSCC, Retrophiliac, Margaux Wosk. Thanks again so much for joining us. Get yourself out there, make some social media content, and keep on empowering equality. And we'll see you next time.